Come with me as I go to Jasmine Pottery Studios Down to Earth Café in the Wakefield Riding Centre to do some pottery painting. It's a 2-hour session and you do a £5 deposit when you book it, and then you can select an item or as many as items as you have time to paint, and whatever the price is showing here, you minus the £5 for that deposit. You then get to choose, if you want to, any sort of drinks, coffees, snacks, even food sort of that's fully cooked as well if you want to. That is obviously at an additional cost. So then I went with my mum and we just took a seat on some of these tables, and as you can see, the tables are all spread out and they have little bookcases between them to make sure you can put your belongings safely out of the way. I loved here that they have the description to show what the 3 layers of paint will mean that it ends up looking like in terms of the finished effect, because they do have that before and after, and as you can see, there is quite a difference once it has gone into the kiln. But it is quite a messy process, or at least I'm quite a messy person, so it does end up quite a mess. But it was a super wonderful experience and the staff were really friendly, and they explained that to start with you do just need to give it a wipe down with a wet sponge to obviously help get off any of that sort of clay type dust that might be lingering on them as well. As you can see, I went for the big vase. I don't have a vase in my flat, and I figured that having a piece that's sort of personalised, if I do ever get any flowers, might be quite a nice thing to have. And I did go there with a plan in mind of the kind of colour scheme that I might want to try to recreate. So I end up sticking exactly to that, but I'm pretty happy with how it does turn out in the end. So to start with, I go for doing the entire thing in some pastel sort of pink. They recommend that you do 3 layers for a full set of colour. So I did do that for that pink, but then I've layered up extra colours on top of it. You'll be able to see, and because of the way that I've done it, some of those bits of pink might come through in a lot of different places as well. I will also take the time to show you exactly what it is that my mum ended up painting, as I think it looks pretty good. I think my mum had a bit of an and an ah as to how she thought it was going, but I think once it has gone into the kiln, it will be pretty good to look at. And they explain that it can sometimes take 2 to 3 weeks for them to come back, just because they obviously do have to sort of get them to be dry and then sort of glazed and then into the kiln and left to cool to set and to do all of that sort of stuff. So at the minute, I don't quite have that full piece back, but when I do get it, I will be popping probably a photo of it onto my Instagram stories or something. So if you're not following me there, then do consider doing that. But as you can see, for the top half, I then did a sort of pastel kind of blue, and in the middle I end up doing a pastel green as well, give it a sort of a 3-tier kind of gradient effect. And like I say, where you can see that there are some bits of pink that are still coming through those bits of blue as well, and that happens with the greens, so it becomes a nice smoother transition. But then I do end up deciding to get incredibly messy, and I choose a few other different colours and I kind of flick some paint onto it, and in doing so I managed to get paint on myself, on the wall, on the table, and definitely all over my hand as well. But do you know what, this was a really nice, enjoyable experience. The fact that you can make something, sort of paint something that's as cheap as you want it to be or as you need it to be, or you could go for more pieces if you want to be kind of speedy or something with it. There you go, there you can see it's that green added in as well. There is still the odd bit of blue there. And then I decided to try my best to paint the inside. Obviously still had quite a lot of sort of some of the green paint and stuff left, and I figured that that would go quite well. I'm not expecting this to be a perfect kind of cut. It's obviously quite difficult to stick your hand in there with a brush to get it perfect, but it will be well worth it. And here are a lot of those different speckles. So that is where I've got the white and then a deeper sort of purple going on. But then I sort of then also added some yellow and some blue as well. And you can see what I mean there about my hand getting incredibly messy. I think this will be super nice to sort of have. It'll mean that in the future I can probably move this into different rooms of the house, especially if I move and end up with more of a colour scheme as well. But there are a couple of photos of it, and as you can see, I did have an iced coffee in the background as well. And then my mum did this sort of plant pot with obviously those toadstools and everything going on, and she did finish it off with some dots as well. So Yeah, it was definitely a wonderful way to spend a couple of hours. If you happen to be in the Wakefield area, then I'd highly recommend. As always, thank you so much for joining. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll catch you again soon.